Hi, I'm Stella Oni, author of debut crime fiction Deadly Sacrifice, which was published by Jacaranda Books in September 2020 as part of its 20 in 2020 series to publish 20 Black authors in 2020. Deadly Sacrifice was shortlisted for the SI Leeds Literary Prize in 2016 and was Audible's Crime Fiction of the Month of September 2020. It's about human trafficking and ritualistic killing, and it has 3 strong leads and complex characters. Detective Toksade, who was a uniformed officer for 10 years before she became a trainee detective. She's a single parent who battles with normal life issues like everyone else. Philip Dean, British, a male, and who is a supervisor. Coretta Davies, her best friend, who used to be an investigative journalist before she became a true crime author. She's of a mixed British and Nigerian parentage. So thank you so much, Crime Writers Association, for telling us to talk about our early influences, because it actually gave me time to think about what kind of influences came together to make this first in my series. So on reflecting on those, I was brought up, born in London and brought up in Nigeria, and now live in London. So my early influences were back in Nigeria, and I started by reading fairy tales. So I loved Hans Christian Andersen's tales, along with the Grimm brothers' tales, and I read a lot of Yoruba mythology. I was quite influenced by my grandmother, so I learned to speak and also write Yoruba. So I was influenced by mythologies, oral and written, in Yoruba, as well as some of the works by Dio Fagunwa, who was a Yoruba. He wrote quite fantastical tales in Yoruba, and one was translated by Wole Soyinka. So aside from that, my mom was an avid reader and had a real huge eclectic mix of books. So I started reading romance. Those were my kind of like early readings. I read romance. And I also, in my teenage years, I read, not quite teenage years, but younger years, and, getting to early teenage years, I read The Famous Five, Treasure Island, all those other kind of books I read. So those were quite influences as well. And they just opened this great, huge world that was kind of different from my current world. So it was just I was so carried away then. And so I went on to now from romance, and now kind of like, and feedback on Deadly Sacrifice was that it is a page turner. It is makes very great reading. So people have enjoyed reading it and call it gripping. I've heard the word gripping a few times, but one of the ones that have come out of it is that it's scary as well, in terms of the tension, that went on in the book. And that I now realize came from quite a few other influences early on, because I used to read a lot of Stephen King, read most of Stephen King, read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, along with crime fiction authors like Agatha Christie. I read James Hadley Chase and so many other authors around then. So what I'm saying is that my early influences were kind of quite mixed. I couldn't take and pick one book to say this is my influence, but Agatha Christie really, really influenced my writing a great deal, to say the least, along with, like I said, Stephen King in those days, because I kind of like remember that. And so, you know, it's interesting to reflect back on what could have the mix, you know, mix up of the writing. And in terms of Deadly Sacrifice as well, it was actually based on a true event that happened in 2001 when a young African boy's torso was found in River Thames. So that human trafficking and ritualistic elements came from just that, because I used that as a backdrop to the story. So it wasn't the main story. It's pure fiction, but that was a backdrop to the story. So along with all the mix that has come up in my childhood, has come together to just create this book that I've written. So thank you so much, Crime Writers Association, for letting us talk about our early influences. Thank you.